Welcome to the first podcast of 2026. Can you believe it? We are in a new year and we have just enjoyed a 4-week break, which doesn't really feel like I have had any time off. If you're a mum, then you will understand that. It was really nice to just switch off from the day-to-day of business and checking emails and thinking about what to post on social media for the week. So that was really nice to just take that time and have some breathing space. Abby also had surgery where she had her tonsils and adenoids removed and we put grommets in. We had discovered in November that doing an ENT appointment that she had grade 3 tonsils, her adenoids were inflamed, and they sent us through for a hearing test because she had fluid in both ears, which then we found out she had 30% hearing loss. And the next step was to go through that surgery, which, was a lot at the end of the year with everything, happening throughout the year. But to be able to get that sorted and then 2 weeks of recovery, which was pretty full on, the pain that you experience with tonsils and going through that healing was pretty intense. So but we are at the other side of that, and definitely she has improved within her speech a lot. She's now saying sentences versus just single words, and she is thriving. The sleep side of things, we are not thriving still. That, I think, is going to just be a work in progress. So I'm still not getting any more sleep. We have had a few nights where she started to do some 6-hour stints, but now we have, kind of fallen back into our normal rhythm, which I think a lot has to do with teething, as always. But anyway, we are through that, and we spent Christmas here at home because we couldn't go away because of that surgery. My parents came down, and then we headed to Bathurst for a few days, which was really nice to just go swim, see my friends, go for lunch, catch up with, everyone there, and then come back. And we sort of just, had a few days before, a few other things have been happening. And now I'm back in the office this week for the first time for 3 days in a row. Abby's back at daycare, just trying to get back into our routine again. But it's been, it's been nice to just switch off and then just also have some space to think about what this year looks like and what I'm focusing on, and just get some clarity around that. One of the things that you probably hear so many people talk about is to, maybe set a word or an intention of what you want this year to be. And this was something that was shared with me when I first joined a mastermind over probably 6 years ago now. And I have set a word or an intention each year. Last year, 2025, was to just focus on simplicity of things and not put too much pressure on myself, and just remind myself when, we're having those doubts to just come back to that phrase or what that word is. And so this year, I felt like it was time to put myself first again, to focus on my health, my mental health, make myself a priority, and just do the little things in the day that are going to support me, and find what I used to enjoy, find those little hobbies that I enjoyed doing before pregnancy and becoming a mum, because I feel like those things have just gone to the wayside, and we tend to, put our kids first a lot of the time. And so this year I really just want to focus on me, and that doesn't just mean myself, it also means within the business to focus on what feels aligned for me through launches or, the offers that I put out there, and just to come back to listening to that intuition, tuning into myself, and taking that time to meditate again, to do a daily movement, because our walks that we used to do every day, they've gone out the window because we no longer sit in a pram, and if we go past the park, that's it, and the park is literally just up the road, and so we don't get very far. And that's been, something that I want to reprioritize for myself while she's at daycare. And the other thing that when we were going through our planning sessions towards the end of last year, so I'm in another mastermind with Anita from Word Fetty, and it's called Up Level, and in that we were to think about things that we want to do on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, quarterly. And one of those is to go and get a massage every month, to just relax and do that for myself. And then every day is to just do that movement. And so far I have been really great at doing that, because I think that, especially in the morning, we get up and we're sort of straight into a routine. But now that Abby's at that stage where she's happily playing, I've bought my mat inside and I can do some yoga, or I can do some weights, or do a little 20-minute HIIT session. And so that's been really nice to do that while she is happily playing. And then if we get a walk in, that is a bonus. And I want you to, think about, whether it's a word or a phrase or what feels right for you. We all come into 2025 thinking like, I need to set my goals. I need to think about what it is I need to achieve. But a lot of us still have our kids at home. We still don't have that space to maybe even think about that. And so ease your way in to the year in what feels right for you and what feels aligned for you. And when the time is right, to sit down and think about those, what your goals you want to be or achieve this year, and, set those intentions. I got a planner and that I can put up on my wall, whiteboard one, which I usually get from Officeworks, but this year we were at Aldi doing our groceries and they had some left over, and it's very pretty. And so I've sat down and mapped out my yearly launches and what they look like, and put in the time that we're going to be away. And now that is very visual for me to see. I'm a very visual person, and so I've only just been able to do that this last week while Abby's been back at daycare, and just have some space to think. And so you don't need to rush back into the year. You don't have to have everything figured out or everything planned. But I'm about to go into a launch in the next few weeks, and so I really needed to sit down and prioritize that and look at my goals and what I want to achieve this year. So my number one focus for this year is the Conversion Club, which is my membership. And the Conversion Club currently is really not just focused on meta ads. It's really to support you during your launches, to support your funnels, your frameworks, help you to see where you have little cracks within your funnels. Maybe when you're running your ads, you're not sure why they aren't converting, and helping you to diagnose that. And so the Conversion Club, we do 2 calls a month. We have masterclasses where I might teach a different topic. We will have guest experts throughout the year coming in and sharing their knowledge. And I'm just very excited to focus on the Conversion Club. And in 2025, I decided to let go of ad management, which has been a long time coming. And I have a couple of clients still, but it just feels really refreshing. It feels like a weight has lifted off my shoulders. And, there's just been so many changes with Meta that it's just kind of nice to just just to sit back for the moment and just focus on one offer. And so the conversion club, that is for me what I'm going to be focusing on. Now, in this episode, I really wanted to share some ins and outs for 2026 as an online business. And I'm going to share some of these with you, and some of these decisions I made in 2025 and will continue to, bring them through into this year. But one of the big moves I made towards the end of last year was moving platforms and email systems into a platform called Ivory. And I've had clients use Ivory, it's a go high level. And so I've used other white labeled platforms that are utilizing go high level and have really enjoyed the build outs. I love what you're able to do. I love how it all ties into ads and how you can see all the data in a contact. I like the community aspect of it. And so I moved everything into Ivory, which it kind of felt like a clean slate. But there were a few reasons I did that. One was my active campaign was costing a fair bit a month, and I was reaching my limit in contacts, which meant it was going to increase again. And I just wasn't getting, there were a few things such as, like URL parameters from ads feeding back to a contact. It just felt very basic, and I enjoyed using it, but it was really the price and what I was getting. They've increased their prices as well. And so I looked at other options that integrated with my current platform and where my membership was hosted on and all my programs. And there was nothing really that, would do what I wanted it to do. And also for the price point, everything is always in USD. So it's always like double. And that was really the crunch for me was, okay, it's time to move. So I spent most of December migrating everything across, and I managed to move it all across before, the final payment of the platforms. And so it's been nice to have like this really nice clean slate. I'm still building out the website, but a lot of my funnels are already, built. I've moved them across into there. It was a lot of copy and pasting. They've got beautiful templates in there that you can use. And so one of the outs this year for me is communities hosted in Facebook groups. And I feel like it's getting harder to engage people inside of groups, or people aren't in Facebook as much, or when they want to be focused on work, they don't necessarily want to go and open up Facebook because it's so easy to get distracted. So an out for me this year is Facebook group communities, and that was another reason to move across to Ivory, was utilizing their communities. I was using Slack as a trial before, and that was great because I could send voice notes, I could do videos on a Monday as check-ins, and it just felt easy. I could access it on my phone, and I didn't have to log into social media to go and check if there were questions. So I am loving that aspect of it. And I feel like Facebook groups are on the out. Number 2 on my out is relying on social media to grow. This year, I want to come back to collaborating with other female founders. I want to do a lot more podcast episodes now that we're back into our routine. Hopefully we can settle back into that routine of getting our weekly podcasts out. And I would love to get back to in-person events. And this can be a little tricky because I'm relying on them to be on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Thursday and not at night. But there are a few events that are coming up that I'm fingers crossed that I will hopefully be able to get to, but just to get back in front and of people again. And yeah, I've really missed that over the past few years. So I'm not relying just on my social media to grow my business. I really want to look at different ways that I can collaborate or, speaking events. And so I'm very excited for that. Overcomplicated funnels. I am seeing at the moment that there are funnels being created like we used to do in 2000. And we want to just keep it very simple. Looking at ways that you can, bring someone in for maybe a low ticket offer and then upsell them, or bring people into a freebie and then, have a bump offer. So really keeping our funnels very simple. Whereas I'm seeing a lot of funnels that are, $19 to an upsell to a bump offer to another it's very confusing and can be overwhelming. And it's like, what am I signing up for and what am I buying? So really just overcomplicated funnels are out this year. Creating offers without audience feedback. I want to ensure that if I am creating a new offer, I want to ensure that I'm getting the feedback from my audience, from those that already engage, that follow. And so I really want to make sure that that is a priority. A lot of the time we think that's going to be a great idea, let's go build it. But then, no one wants it or no one needs it. And so I really want to make sure that I am getting that feedback from my audience before I create an offer. And this one to me is something more of my values. I want to ensure that when I show up on social media, that it is me and not an AI bot. Now, I'm all for AI and I use AI custom bots within my business to help me create content and, help me to write blog articles and show notes and all those things to speed up this process. But something that I don't currently feel aligned with is AI video bots and cloning myself. I want you to know that that's me behind the camera that is, sharing strategies or tips or feedback or insights. Like, that is me. So to me, that just it just doesn't align with me and my values. And so to me, right at this point, AI video bots are out of cloning myself. I think we can definitely be testing and looking at fun ways to use AI and video, but I just am not wanting to clone myself. I have seen a lot of meta ads. I've seen a lot of people talking about cloning themselves, but I want my voice to be here. So that is something that I won't be doing. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what's in. And I would love to know from you, like, what are you taking out of this ins and out? And have you set your own, because this doesn't have to be industry based. This could be just something that you want to focus on, or what's out for you and what's in for 2026. And so these are just mine. So what is in for me? Email lists that are nurtured. So I really want to focus on writing a weekly email to my list that is just real conversation, sharing about my week, sharing insights, sharing what I'm seeing within, meta ads and strategies and what we've maybe covered inside of the Conversion Club. So I really want to just get back to just writing emails that feel really natural to me, because last year, I really only sent an email when I would have a podcast or I was doing my launches. And I really want to come back and just nurture those on my email list and love them up. Repeatable launches. This one is a big one. as I mentioned, I have mapped out my launches for the year, and I am focusing on that launch that's coming up, and then repurposing that launch throughout the year, improving it, scaling it, what worked, what didn't work, what do I need to change or, tweak to help, scale that. And that's something that I just want to focus on. I see a lot of the time when I'm working with clients, whether course creators, membership owners, we get this shiny object syndrome. It's like, oh, I haven't launched doing a challenge. Let's do a challenge this time. Or I haven't done a masterclass. Let's do that. But the key to having repeatable launches and being able to scale is finding what works and what converts. So if you have done a masterclass in the past and that's converted really well for you live, why would you not then rinse and repeat? And I know for me, live masterclasses is where my best energy is. I love doing them. I enjoy them. I find them fun. And, they're over and done within a 60-minute time frame. I can answer questions at the end, and I know that that is what converts best for me. There's a few things that I definitely need to improve on, like live show up rate. So, including an incentive for people to show up live. So that's what I am focusing on this year. Ads that support my whole business and not just launches. And this is this is something I see again with, other digital entrepreneurs, is they just are using ads through their launches and not focusing on list building or finding opportunities to run evergreen ad campaigns that are bringing in revenue. They may not be fully profitable, but you are bringing in high quality leads to nurture them through to your high-end offer. And that is something that I am focusing on again this year, where I feel like I have the brain space and the capacity to go into that and launch ads and have them running all year round to grow my list and grow my community for when I do live launches. This is something that I set up towards the end of the year, which you might know that ManyChat brought out a new feature where you can engage new followers. You can send messages to anyone that starts to follow you, and then you can nurture them through those messages. So engaging with new followers, this is something that I really want to focus on. I have set up a ManyChat flow. So when someone follows me, they get a message, and then it asks like if they would like a little freebie as a thank you for following me, and then that takes them through. They can opt in then to that. And I just really want to engage and get to know my community more, get to know those that are following me and why they're following me or where they came from, and just have those conversations. Content that flows easily. This is another big one, because I am a manifesting generator, and I do find it challenging to plan out my content for the week. No matter what I do, no matter, the programs I've been in, I do still struggle. And I have an idea that comes to me. I'm like, I need to record that. And sometimes that is spur in the moment. And then I need to think, okay, let's save that piece of content for a couple of days, and then we share that then. But this year, I just want to focus on that flow. What comes to me, video to me is so easy. I would rather sit here and speak and talk and use my energy and use my hands and share my strategies and share, video content or behind the scenes, or, share a tip when it comes to meta ads. So I'm really focusing on that content that does just flow easily for me, using my voice. That is a big one for me, and just really aligning to that. And so I've been really focusing on that specifically the last couple of weeks. So you will probably see a lot more video from me. And, I am using like my own custom bots to help create ideas around hooks and content to create for my launches. And I've been taking that and putting into like a Google Doc so I can refer to it during my launches, because launches can be a lot, they can be exhausting. So I'm very mindful of ensuring that I have my content ready to go, already created for when I am going into launch, so that I don't have to think about anything else or worry about that. I can just focus on delivering the masterclass and then focus on the emails and the conversations that are happening around that. And that has definitely been a huge game changer for me going into launches, is having that content already prepared, specifically with social media. Well, that comes to the end of my in and outs for 2026, and I'm excited to be back and hopefully coming through to your podcasts weekly. I would love to know if there's anything that you would like me to touch on or talk about when it comes to either meta ads or funnels, launches, strategy. I am an open book. So I would love to hear, from you, and feel free to tag me over on Instagram if you have listened into this episode, what you took away from it, and what you would like to hear more of this year. But I will see you, hopefully, in another episode. Have a great day.